be with you on the program tonight. We hope that you'll be blessed and strengthened as you listen to this. I want to go into a conspiracy, deal with a conspiracy tonight that boggles the mind. It's not a conspiracy of worldwide groups and names of organizations worldwide that we know nothing of. It is a conspiracy right here in America. It has to do with the civil rights movement and the civil rights days as we look at some history in the United States of America and see can we figure out why things are as they are today and what has made them this way. And I think that it'll be a very interesting subject tonight as we look at it. You must understand this, that the poor has always been a commodity, something that somebody could use to make themselves wealthy and make themselves rich. It is a crime against God and a crime biblically to do so. The Bible tells us in the book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 13, it says, "Whoso stoppeth his ears at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard." It tells us then also in that telling us that we should hear the cries of the poor. In Proverbs 22:16 it says, "He that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want." And then the Bible tells us in Proverbs 22:22, "Rob not the poor because he is poor." Now listen, reading again 22:16. "He that oppresseth the poor," just the upper portion, "he that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches." Poverty is a commodity. There are those who uses it in order to get wealthy. Now, whoever it is that uses poverty to make themselves rich, you must understand by the laws of human nature itself, they are as interested in eliminating poverty as the pharmaceutical companies are interested in eliminating sickness. Those who have profited and do profit off of poverty does not want poverty to go away, and that's why it don't go away. Especially as we look into certain segments of society. The segment of society that's been targeted by two groups. We're going to talk about this conspiracy tonight that will boggle your mind pertaining to the civil rights days. We could start it out by saying this, that with all things you're going to have light and darkness, you're going to have good and bad, you're going to have righteousness and unrighteousness. So it is with the civil rights. Martin Luther King made it absolutely clear and made it plain in one of his speeches. He said that there are white snakes and there are black snakes. He said, "I no more want to be bit by a black snake than I do a white snake." He knew of the warring factions within his own movement. There was a Christian movement, a nonviolent, Christian principled movement of which Mr. King was over. Now listen, please don't send me any information belittling the character of Dr. King. Okay, I mean, I know all of that. I've read all that. And if you do want to send me stuff belittling his character, then also send me something along with it showing what all King David did and just about everybody else in the Bible. You put a camera or a bug on any of us for 24 hours a day, and every one of us is going to do something to give somebody else something to talk about. The fact that what Mr. King did was a Christian movement and Christian principles is absolutely clear by what he did. But inside that movement was also a militant wing. The Black Panthers, the Black Muslims, was all there as well. And there was not only a war going on outside with those groups fighting against the establishment that was then, but there was a war going on inside that was very deadly and very threatening itself between the Christian component of the civil rights movement, led by Dr. King, and the Black Muslim militant movement led by the Nation of Islam. Now, we're going to see a conspiracy form here in just a few minutes by the mouth of one of the founders of the Nation of Islam, one of the founders of the Black Muslim movement, that he will speak himself and tell us. That person is Malcolm X. Malcolm X, in following his life, Malcolm X appears to be a man who was in true pursuit of spiritual upliftment. I think he was truly searching for God. He found out that the organization that he belonged to was not only not a Christian or not a godly organization, but of his own words, he said it was a criminal organization, that it had lost all of its morals, and that it was murderous and a criminal organization. Of course, for this, Malcolm X was finally killed. I believe Malcolm was moving toward Christianity. I believe he was a decent man by all means and by all rights. By that, and with that, I would say this. The group that would succeed, that would take over, would be a movement that wanted unity and peace between the races, judged of our content of our character and not our color. Martin Luther King, Christian principles. The other side is seeking the will of a man. Malcolm discovered that the movement was not only a godly spiritual movement, but according to him was a criminal institution. And so it had no power to uplift the black man, as Malcolm said. Truly finding this, that no matter how sincere the pursuit is, the only thing that is truly going to spiritually, physically, and emotionally lift man up is God, through Christ. Where Christ is, there is liberty, true peace, true freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. If the Spirit of the Lord is not what is truly behind a movement, church, Nation of Islam, Baptist church, it makes no difference. If the movement is not truly centered, you can say God all you want to, but if it's not truly centered on God, then what you have is a man building his own kingdom, period. And that ain't going to turn out good. Never has, and it never will. Malcolm X had went on his pilgrimage to find out about his faith. He found things that was very disheartening, and he came back and he got out of it. As Malcolm got out of it, he told us that there was attempts on his life, would be attempts on his life, and in fact, he said that he knew sooner or later they would, that being the Nation of Islam, would kill him. The conspiracy that I've talked about, the conspiracy is a conspiracy that Malcolm will reveal to us himself. A conspiracy, strangely enough, that took place between the Nation of Islam, the black Muslims, the Nazi Party, and the Ku Klux Klan in 1960. Both sides, or all three, the Nazis, who was invited after the meeting to one of the major black Muslim conventions where they were seated on the front row, the heads of the Nazi Party. In 1960, the Nazis, the Ku Klux Klan, and the Nation of Islam gathered together. Both of them wanting segregation. Both groups wanting the nations divided. All you got to do is listen to Louis Farrakhan now, and you'll hear over and over and over that it need to be segregated and divided. That's what the movement was. The Klan was willing to give up pieces of land in Georgia and South Carolina, was willing to give up land for them to form their own nation so that both sides could get exactly what they wanted. The Nation of Islam wanted segregation. They wanted a black community, and the Klan wanted segregation, a white community. Both of them then offering to each other the help that would be needed in order to form this. And in this conspiracy, they would form a pact between themselves that the Nation of Islam, black Muslims, could travel the United States, anywhere they wanted without fear of the Klan attacking them. Likewise, the Klan could move about without fear of the black Muslims or the Nation of Islam attacking them. So they would have free protection to move. Now, a lot of questions began to be answered. It goes into the Democratic and Republican parties. Now, I have no desire to be a politician of any kind, and I'm not stressing politics at all. This is what they call themselves. I can't call them nothing but what they call us, Democrats and Republicans. Now, what we have then is this, is we have a lot of questions that simply can't be answered. One of those questions is, how did the Democratic Party that was anti-freedom of the black, the Democratic Party that withstood every single civil rights bill, it was the Democratic Party that created the Ku Klux Klan. It was the Democratic Party that withstood every civil rights bill. It was the Democratic governors that stood in the doorways of the schools in Alabama and Mississippi, refusing to allow blacks to enter in. And all of a sudden, this same party all of a sudden becomes the party of the very people that it had oppressed for all these years. How in the world is this possible? In looking back over the history, you can't find where there was a violent overthrow of the Democratic Party, where the Nation of Islam or black militants took the party over by force. You can't find it anywhere. 1961, 62, 63, these people are standing in the doorways of the schools to stop integration. In 62 and 63, they're opposing every civil rights bill that's passed. And all of a sudden, they become the party of the very people that they oppose. Lyndon Johnson, the one that became the president after Kennedy was shot and killed. Lyndon Johnson, for 20 years of his political history, never voted for one civil rights bill, voted against every one of them. Yet in 1964, Lyndon Johnson is the one who all of a sudden come into office after the conspiracy, after the meeting in 1960 took place. He comes into the office of presidency, and the people now that he had never voted to give a civil rights, all of a sudden he gives this tremendous welfare to help them. Where did this come from? What was the true purpose of the welfare? Remember, there's a group of people that get rich, the Bible told us, off of the poor. As Mr. Johnson was flying in to Washington on Air Force One, it was recorded that he said, when he heard that Congress had passed his welfare bill, that he said this should keep those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Who is it that would make money off of the poverty? Who is it would get wealthy off of poverty? Well, whites and blacks alike. You see, Jesse Jackson, his constituents, well, they're still in the same shape they was in, according to him. They're in the same shape they was always in. But Jesse, he's a millionaire. Louis Farrakhan, to the thousands that he preaches to in his temples, all of them's in the same economic shape that they was in. But Mr. Farrakhan, he's a millionaire. Al Sharpton, his constituents, the one he's fighting for their help and their freedom, his constituency has remained in the same mess that they've been in. But he rides around in white limousines. Those, not a white mayor, not a Republican white mayor in the city of Detroit since 1960. Those that rode in limousines, tore the city up, where in Detroit you're kicking cans, still trying to find some food to eat. And the ones that ruled you come in, black, in white limousines, rides out of what they've tore up now in white limousines. It ain't just white people gets rich off of poverty. As we look to the freedom of a systemic attack upon a group of people, you have to look at the truth of it, or either we're wasting our time. Now, all of this is a problem because of the movement of unity. Any movement of unity, Martin Luther King was a unifier, trying to unify. That's not what the Klan wanted. That's not what the Nation of Islam wanted. Martin Luther King had to go. Martin Luther King was a Republican. They killed him. All of the presidents that were assassinated, except one, were all Republicans. You see, we began to see a clear light shining. And then there is the meeting. The answering to the questions of how these things come to be and how they came to be becomes crystal clear. You cannot let a group of people prosper and grow in a unified society when you are wanting a segregated society. So the welfare programs was designed to keep perpetual poverty going, because it will make the Democrats, white or black, rich. It will keep Louis Farrakhan rich. It will keep Jesse Jackson rich. It will keep Al Sharpton rich. It will keep Barack Obama rich. And the Bible tells us of those that get rich off of the poor. So, the agitation, the poverty has to continue. Why would a black group of congressmen be for a bill that gives barely enough to make it to a black woman and then takes it all away from her if she gets married? that guarantees poverty. Why would anyone seeking the betterment of a person give them a welfare program that offers just enough to get by? And then if you go get a job, you lose it all that day? It's designed. And it's designed by and from a conspiracy, a meeting that took place in 1960 between the black Muslims, the Nazi Party, and the Ku Klux Klan. That's why you don't see any violent overrunning of the Democratic Party, that all of a sudden, the party that withstood every civil rights, all of a sudden became the Civil Rights Party as the two sides conspired and come together. Now listen, Malcolm X was telling in a meeting that he knew that they were going to kill him. The reason he said they was going to kill him was because he knew too much and that they couldn't stop him from speaking his mind.
Conspiracy. The attempt was made upon my life because I speak my mind and I know too much, and they know that I will speak it whether they like it or not. Pardon me?
The next clip, Malcolm tells us that he feels personally responsible for helping to create what is now a criminal organization, the Nation of Islam.
I feel responsible for having played a major role in developing a criminal organization.
In the next clip, Malcolm talks about the black Muslim movement had gotten in the possession of a man that was senile now, and that his children now had taken over the power, and all they were concerned about was their own personal wealth, their own personal riches, and their own personal security.
But it has gotten into the possession of a man who's become senile in his old age and perhaps doesn't realize it. And then he has surrounded himself by his children who are now in power and want nothing but luxury and security and comfort, and will do anything to safeguard their own interests.
They want nothing but their own wealth, their own security, and will do anything to secure it. Those who get rich off of poverty will do anything to secure it. For as I said, a person who's getting rich off of someone else's poverty wants that poverty eliminated, just like a pharmaceutical company wants sickness to be eliminated. In the meeting where Malcolm would reveal this conspiracy and the time and place it took place, it was right after his house had been bombed, and it had been bombed, ordered by the black Muslims to bomb it, targeting rooms of which his daughters slept in. He then began to move into the conspiracy, how that the black Muslims was now adopting the exact strategy as the Klan, in whom they had met with and conspired to each other's safety. That's why it was only black churches getting burned, no black mosque. That's how come a man who claimed himself to be the leader of a nation within this nation, which would be treason, was left alone to build his nation. Malcolm begins to tell that they've adopted now the same strategies as the Klan.
I heard on the news today that Joseph, a brother that I found in the garbage can in Detroit in 1952, well, that's where I found him, made the statement that I had bombed my own house. Now, you see, this doesn't surprise me because I know that since many of us left the Muslim movement, its intelligence and its morals have gone bankrupt. Both its intelligence and its morals have gone bankrupt. And now they are using the same tactic that's used by the Ku Klux Klan. When the Klan bombs your church, they say you did it. When they bomb the synagogue, they say the Jews bombed their own synagogue. This is the Klan tactic. And tonight, I'll tell you why the black Muslim movement is now adopting the same tactics against black people as has been up to now the exclusive method of the Ku Klux Klan. I want to point out, too, that I'm not talking about Muslims just to make white people happy, because I don't believe in letting anyone use me against somebody else. I'm telling you these things because it has reached a point where I feel that black people in this country need to know what's going on. And I'm talking about an organization which I had a hand in building, which I had a hand in.
And because Malcolm was fixing to let the black people know what was really going on, well, he knew too much, and they couldn't allow him to do that. He then went on in this same meeting and began to speak expressly about the conspiracy and the meeting between the Klan, the Nazis, and the black Muslims.
I know for a fact that there is a conspiracy between Muslims and the Lincoln Rockwell Nazi and also the Ku Klux Klan. There is a conspiracy.
Describe this conspiracy.
Well, the Ku Klux Klan made a deal, or were trying to make a deal with Elijah Muhammad in 1960 in the home of Jeremiah X, the minister in Atlanta at that time, who was president as the minister in Philadelphia. They were trying to make a deal with him to make available to Elijah Muhammad a county, a size tract of land in Georgia or South Carolina, where Elijah Muhammad could then induce Negroes to migrate and make it appear that his program of a segregated state or separated state was feasible.
So it was all about securing a mindset and securing a kingdom for themselves, period. The mindset is all unification has to be done away with. That's why Martin Luther King was killed. That's how come only the militant blacks now are in the Democratic Party. Anytime a Christian black man or black woman is introduced into politics, immediately they start calling them Uncle Toms. This is the reason why. This is how it happened. Now, this conspiracy as it took place was for the control of the mind. And so the people now have to be kept in constant strife in order to remove, well, any thoughts of unification and keep the war going so that there can be a nation set up whereby these people who will tell you how you can think and how you can't think can rule you. He goes on.
But I do know that after that, Jeremiah, who was the minister throughout the South, could roam the entire South and the Klan not bother him in any way, shape, or form, nor would they bother any of the black Muslims from then on, nor would the black Muslims bother the Klan.
So there was a security pact set between the two. The security was very well recognized, very well noted. That the Klan could travel anywhere throughout the country, not worry about black Muslims retaliating against them. Black Muslims could travel anywhere through the land and the Klan wouldn't bother them. That's why black churches was burned, not black mosque. That's why come Louis Farrakhan could continue to go on, but Martin Luther King couldn't. A conspiracy between the Klan, the Nazis, and the Nation of Islam. Strom Thurmond, a Republican from South Carolina, on his 100th birthday. Trent Lott, a Republican senator, whip for the Senate, spoke a good word about a man on his 100th birthday. And they forced the man from office because he said a good word about a man who voted for segregation. While at the same time, the one that was over them in the Democratic Party, Senator Robert Byrd, and was their leader until he died, was a leader of the Ku Klux Klan. Not just in it, he was a leader of the Ku Klux Klan. Allowed to use the N-word on the Senate floor. Not a protest from one Democrat, not one black in the Democratic Party ever protested Senator Byrd. But a man who said one good word about another man's 100th birthday, removed from office, now you understand why, don't you? Finally, Malcolm was killed. He was killed by the hands of those of which he knew was going to kill him. Louis Farrakhan behind it. Because you see, in Louis Farrakhan's world, and the world he wants you in, black man, you think like he tells you to think, and if you don't, he'll get rid of you.
What have you got to say about it? Did you teach Malcolm? Did you make Malcolm? Did you clean up Malcolm? Did you put Malcolm out before the world? Was Malcolm your traitor or was he ours? And if we dealt with him like a nation deals with a traitor, what that business is it of yours?
Strange thing about it was Malcolm was Mr. Farrakhan's mentor. Mr. Farrakhan didn't clean anybody up. Mr. Farrakhan didn't even clean himself up. Nonetheless, there's where the conspiracy is. That's what the conspiracy is about. The Klan, the Nazis, the Nation of Islam and the Democratic Party. Now there's a whole lot of things that should make a whole lot of sense to us. You're going to either vote against this stuff and get this stuff out of here, black man, or you're going to get what you want. But when you get it, you're going to be in a kingdom and a world where Mr. Farrakhan or his like is your ruler. And you will do as you are told to do, and you will think as you are told to think, or he'll kill you.
This old heart keeps telling me you're the biggest fool this world has ever seen. I tell my heart, be quiet. I don't want you talking to me. All you ever do is tell the truth, and the truth's what's killing me. Won't you go on away and just leave me alone? I don't want you around anymore, telling me all the things I did wrong. Can't you let me sleep for just one night? Oh, you ain't got to say it again. I know I wasn't right. Fighting the truth is like fighting the law, like standing in midair, trying not to fall. Fighting the truth, you'll never win. Might as well turn loose, might as well give in. So heart keep showing me all them things I should have seen. Just let me breathe for just one day, for just 1 hour. Make it all just go away. Fighting the truth is like fighting the law. It's like standing in midair, trying not to fall.